Welcome back. Women chopping off their hair, chants against the government, students taking to the streets. The death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini in police custody has turned the spotlight on the nation's repressive regime. 185 people, including 19 children, have lost their lives in the 4-week-long protest and the subsequent crackdown. Amini was reportedly beaten up by Iran's so-called morality police for not wearing her hijab properly. She died in a hospital 3 days later. The police, in their version, said that she suffered a heart attack after being taken to a station. The coroner said that Amini died due to a long-standing illness and not from blows to the head. On Saturday, Iran's state-run broadcaster was hacked on air when the news bulletin was interrupted by an image of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, with flames around him. Joining us now is Ambassador K.C. Singh, former Indian envoy to Iran. Ambassador K.C. Singh, these are unprecedented protests taking place across Iran now. We've seen a large number of casualties. We've seen students coming out in protesting in a big way, asking for political liberties, liberties in terms of human rights, in terms of dressing the way they want to. How different are these protests from any protest that may have taken place in Iran over the last 30 to 40 years?
Look, the last big protests, the biggest one was 2009, when President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was re-elected. So people felt that the election had been tinkered with. He was unpopular. There's no way he could have won that election. So people came out on the streets. But the difference was that these were all the people who came out of the streets from different segments, not just the women and the girls. Again, there were popular protests in 2018, 19, 18, when the gas prices went up. But what is different this time is that it is led by women, girls, youth, and therefore it has a different complexion. And it runs through, say, 50% of the population, because that's the female population roughly of Iran. Why are they finding it difficult to control? Because it's very widespread. You see, any agency will either have to use brute force. They don't want to use that because they still want to maintain a degree of legitimacy. And no government can have legitimacy without shooting its own citizens down. But the current president, and this is the difference, the election that they had by which he has come up was completely rigged, in the sense they didn't even allow, they completely debarred all candidates which had any pretensions to a liberal past. So they made sure that Ibrahim Raisi becomes a president. He has a very unsavory past because he was a judge immediately after the revolution in '79, when a few thousand prisoners were killed. So he has that stigma which is attached to his name. Maybe that is why he's not. But essentially, it will be the Revolutionary Guards who will have to take a call. There is also the factor that we don't know now. Supreme Leader Khamenei is very old. We don't know how ill he is, how much more he can live, etc. So Iran is that way at a inflection point, and these sanctions have also affected them, though they've managed to live with them, but it has affected them. But Iran also has a few positives going for them.
Okay.
Now with Russia fighting the Ukraine war, the Americans don't want to press.
Singh.
Yeah.
Right. Ambassador K.C. Singh, you made an important point that Iran today is at an inflection point. Do you think all the issues that the protesters, the large number of women, and you said that is the 50% of the population, they're asking for personal and political liberties. Do you think somewhere the Iranian leadership will have to compromise? Right now, they're telling their forces across the country to severely confront troublemakers and anti-revolutionaries. But do you think somewhere they will have to relent?
The trouble with any revolutionary government and Islamic revolutionary government is that if you start compromising, their fear is that if you compromise through popular protest on this one crucial thing, then there would be future protests which would look for more compromises and more relaxation. So that would be the fear of the Revolutionary Guards, of the ruling elite, of the clerics, that you cannot start compromising with something like this, because they would trace this coverage of the heads and the hijab to basically Islamic injunction. So it's feeding back into the Islamic regime's core beliefs, the people who are running the country, the clerics. Now, if they compromise on this, then their worry would be that tomorrow people may want more democracy like they wanted in 2009. They may want freer elections. But Iran, the advantage, the interesting thing is the Americans, it was President Obama then in 2009, they decided not to push, not to support the protesters at that stage, because they felt that that would turn them into basically the regime will be able to dub them as American puppets. So the Americans stepped back. But this time the Americans are out. They've supported it. Even though the Americans would need, were talking to the Iranians about reviving the nuclear deal. They would like to wean away Iran from the Chinese and the Russian corner. And at a time when the OPEC Plus have said that they want to cut the oil production by 2 million barrels, one of the countries which can quickly bring more oil into the market is Iran. So there are these conflicting needs, because of which also the West is supporting the women, but at the same time also probably holding back.
All right, we've run out of time, Ambassador K.C. Singh, unfortunately, but thank you very much for joining us here on Global Eye, giving us your view of the protests in Iran, which only seem to be escalating by the day. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Global Eye. Thank you for watching. News continues on the other side.